I have a confession to make, guys. I secretly really love the Dark Elves right now. The buffs in Total War Warhammer 3 have made them quite a bit stronger on a host of fronts. One of the biggest, though, was buffs to Black Dragons in general, and especially characters on Black Dragons. They had their mass almost doubled. Before, their mass was at like 2,200, I think. Now, I think the regular Black Dragon is like 4,000, maybe more. Malekith, obviously, is 4,700, so what this means is it's going to be a lot easier for dragons to disengage. They won't get stuck in infantry as easily, and also the mass calculation does matter for charges, especially in other single entities. Besides that, of course, percentage-based healing, in theory, Soul Stealer will heal Malekith for more, especially on ultra unit sizes, given his higher HP pool, so it should be pretty useful for him. I haven't actually mathematically calculated to see if the healing rate is better than it was in Warhammer 2 for Malekith specifically, but I think it is. Besides that, Chillwind also, again, didn't necessarily get directly buffed, but the changes to explosion damage make this 100% armor piercing, very cheap wind spell, extremely efficient anti-infantry armor piercing damage. And then one item as well I wanted to highlight for Malekith as we keep it in slow motion here is this Supreme Spell Shield. So this is kind of insane. This is one of the only items or abilities in the game that will actually drain your opponent's power reserves, essentially like reducing the amount of spells they can cast in a given game. Not to mention gives also an area of effect spell resistance, which is decently useful in a few different matchups. But in particular, if your opponent's going to be taking multiple casters, because it affects only spellcasters, you can get quite a bit of drain from this and prevent them from using quite so many spells. Definitely seems like a powerful item, especially against factions which rely on magic to a degree, like the High Elves do. This build, I'm up against Reginald Puggington. It's from my stream I did a couple days ago, maybe yesterday by the time you're seeing this. The release day stream went on a tear with Dark Elves. There's a lot more Malekith games and other Legendary Lords as well, so definitely go check that out if you want some more Dark Elf action. But anyway, a couple Mancores already charging in. We've got Dread Spears, Bleak Swords as a double line here, with some Scourge Runner Chariots for anti-large AP shooting, Reaper Bolt Thrower for more of the same, and some Dark Riders to supplement the Mancores here. My opponent is Reginald Puggington, I was just about to say. He's one of the contenders from the Somerset Championship Series, which was obviously domination, but today he's taking me on in land battles. Got a Life Archmage on horseback, some War Lions, War Lion Chariots, Illyrian Reavers, and some Lion Infantry. So pretty cool, like Trace themed build. He's even under the banner of Trace, so actually very, very cool now that I stop and think about it. But there you go, there's some of that nice Chillwind murdering my frame rates as the Manticore dives in with these Dark Riders, and that's going to lead to my opponent trying to pull these Reavers away, but of course that Frostbite, I didn't realize it affects reload skill now. That's interesting. But a speed debuff being able to be applied to units just kind of across the field is pretty nice. Malekith, of course, standy ground as well. He also has physical resistance, 15% on his dragon, 25% missile resistance, so he's just generally a very tough combatant. 90 armor, I think this was 80 before. I know in the patch notes they listed that Black Dragons themselves were 80. Now they're at 90, but man, focus fire from the Scourge Runner Chariots and the Reaper Bolt Thrower has been very effective, taking down that regiment around Arcane Phoenix. More Chillwinds, and we'll kind of keep it in the... Well, let's zoom in for some cinematics. I did cast this game live as I played it, right, on the stream, so if you want a live replay with more of a tactical view, you can go check that out. But we're going to continue to just throw in spells here. That looks like the wrong Lore of Magic casting animation, but that's fine. Little breath attack there. Mostly swing and a miss on those Lion Infantry, but my opponent, Puggington's going to be doing a great job cycle charging with his Lions and using them to block my Scourge Runner Chariots as much as possible. You can see the Light Cavalry also coming in, the Lion Chariots coming in for some bumper cars. So definitely need to drop in for some support and try and keep these Scourge Runners alive. We're going to swing Malekith through. Nice Dwellers Below from my opponent, and a Chillwind also in response. Man, this game's beautiful. Classic High Elves versus Dark Elves, like one of the defining matchups of Game 2. In a new form in Game 3, definitely interesting. I think Dark Elves probably have a leg up now because they definitely got more buffs, even though the High Elves did get some buffs as well. And obviously, the High Elves also benefit from the changes to Dragon Mass. We'll talk about Imric and some of the other High Elf Dragon Lords another day. But for the time being, I might switch to a Dark Elf main. Not really, but definitely have been enjoying the Dark Elves. Don't tell anyone, but they're actually my favorite Elven faction. I'm not the biggest fan of Elves in Warhammer in general, but I do enjoy Dark Elves to a degree. So we're going to try and pressure the caster here. The live caster, the Manticore jumps in and then immediately switches onto the chariot. Omen of Ansurian is going to come in and block, and a very nicely timed heal there from Puggington. Going to keep all these units nice and fresh. He doesn't have any direct anti-large AP, which is definitely a problem. Malekith has taken relatively little damage over the course of the battle. The rest of my army is getting pretty well hammered. I mean, Lions finally came back to eat the bolt thrower crew here. And, oops, here comes my cat invading my space. Hey, buddy. Anyway, dragons out there in the distance, or the Manticores, and the dragon, Darth Vader's Death Star, if you will. Super Star Destroyer. Yes, that's right. I'm just completely embarrassing myself here. Anyway, he's going to dive in, try and just continue to pressure high-value targets. I'd have to look, and the thing about the patch notes is they're incomplete, so it's hard to totally rely without literally opening both games and comparing one-to-one what's changed. I don't know. I think he might have had a splash attack rework. I'm not 100% sure, but in general, the fact that I've been able to keep him relatively close in range to the Life Mage means that I'm probably draining a decent amount of Winds of Magic here. We're going to come block with the Chariots, try and keep the Omen of Ansurian in so that Malekith can finish him off, and another nice chill wind here. We've got so many of those, especially not having to allocate any resources to healing in terms of magic, because Malekith really isn't taking any damage. Just keep pumping out those super efficient chill winds. Of course, going to be a nice spell for the Wood Elves, certainly. Wood Elves kind of kite and hit and run play style with that frostbite efficient AP anti-infantry damage, because oftentimes, you know, a decent counter to that style of Wood Elf play is just huge spam of shielded infantry. But if you have a nice, cheap, efficient spell that will help you clear that shielded infantry, even that much better. Definitely seems like it will be pretty solid. And for both of these factions that have access to Lore of Dark, I think it will be a decent pick, but certainly legendary lords with Lore of Dark like Malekith, I think he's the only one. I mean, Marathi has a mixed lore, but I'd have to actually check. I don't know if she actually has Chill Wind. But, oof, that Lion Chariot just getting absolutely manhandled by Malekith. Speaking of getting manhandled, though, we've still got a few healthy-ish units of Lion Infantry here, and the one actual unit of Lions that has just been on point in terms of micro, staying away from units which threaten them, and then just blocking my Chariots at every turn. Another mostly ineffective breath attack there, as the Omen of Ansurian finishes off one Manticore just straight up. Gonna brace with some Dread Spears here and hammer into the anvil with Malekith. That's why they call it Warhammer, right? Oh, nice tail swipe there. As the Omen comes to fight the Phoenix, another nice chill wind. Just had to. I mean, those units lined up so nice for me. Trying to brace for the Chariots. Here come the Lions on the side. Force my Chariots into a very awkward position, and my opponent collapses with both of the Lion Infantry and these Spearmen. So great play there. He is going to be able to break one of my Scourge Runner Chariots. Might even be able to shatter them, perhaps. The other Scourge Runner is going to be able to get away mostly. The Omen of Ansurian is coming in also. The Wounds trait definitely coming into play here as it reduces the Phoenix. Already not incredible weapon strength. I don't know. Previously, kind of the meta in Warhammer 2 was to take Phoenixes over Dragons because Dragons weren't very good. I haven't tried High Elves a lot myself. I mean, the thing about Dragons is they're pretty expensive, but in the limited experience I have had against and as High Elves, the Star Dragon in particular, if you support it well, seems very good. The Moon Dragon's probably pretty decent. Sun Dragon, I don't know, might still not be great enough in terms of raw stats to be super effective, but man, this Tracian color scheme is quite nice, I have to say. The Crimson High Elves kind of all look like the Pyramid Company, which I guess makes sense. And oh no! Brutal situation as the caster just blows herself up. And that's going to be the end. A little overcast to Earth Blood, and the High Elven Archmage just detonates into a cloud of goo. And if you look at things, though, I mean, Malekith is literally the only unit I have left on the battlefield, besides some kind of tattered rallying Chariots, we might get one Manticore back as well, the one that's not dead on the field. But for now, we're just going to keep it in cinematic cam, continue to murder my frame rates with chill winds as we murder the high elves with the same. And oh man, just I'm happy that Malekith seems to be quite good. In land battles, I should stipulate. Domination, obviously expensive flying lords are just not very good in domination, so it's not going to be great there, but certainly in land battles, Lokir, Malekith, even what's his name? Now I'm just forgetting. Rakarth also pretty decent. You can't heal Rakarth, whereas Malekith and Lokir can both self-heal, but you know, he gets his anti-large, Rakarth does. He also gets Murderous Prowess on the dragon, which is absolutely insane. Gives him a huge vigor refresh, big melee attack buff. So anyway, Malekith is just holding out right now, and there's not a lot to come support him, but he is actually starting to take some damage still, though. Standard ground puts him up to 72 melee defense on the dragon. I mean, quite strong. It seems like maybe he had a raw attack defense buff on the dragon in terms of combat stats. I'm not sure. Again, I'd have to go back and compare Game 1, Game 2, but just in general, he's gone from being a seldomly picked lord in late Warhammer 2. Malekith was definitely a powerhouse earlier on in Warhammer 2's life cycle, but after some nerfs, I mean, it was just absolutely, the Dark Elves were defined by Morathi, and that is now not the case, at least in land battles. In domination also, arguably, Malice is probably the best choice, but Phoenix straight up does not get killed there. It's going to go ahead and rebirth and continue to play the rebirth effect, just because of a little bit of a bug, but rest of the High Elf units have finally fled the field after a long and brutal affair. And yeah, almost 10 minutes of slogging. Malekith almost loses out. If I had got bad RNG there at the end, it's possible that the Omen of Asaurian wins. I mean, I guess there's enough parity in stats between these two where it's actually pretty even. The advantage Malekith has the fact that he just had more HP to begin with in this engagement. So that's also... yeah, I mean, that's obviously a huge factor, but I suppose if I had got bad dice rolls, the Omen of Asaurian still could have won it in the end. Well, nice Lion supporting charge, but they're going to go to army losses. So GG to my opponent, Pugington, there. It was an absolute scrap, and I had some really close games on that stream, but I was able to win, I think, 6-7 in a row with Dark Elves. Pretty impressive, honestly. Not something I expected out of myself, I must say, but they feel quite good right now. The cheap units are much more cost effective, and it makes going, you know, with a wide build like this, with still a expensive, powerful flying lord, a lot more viable. Malekith cleaning out more than 5,000 damage value with 34,000 total damage dealt. Quite good stuff. Of course, Scourge Runners also just still an awesome unit, as they always have been. 1,500, two of them, 1,400 on the other, definitely overvaluing the Manticores as well, also getting really nice value back. The cheap infantry ends up kind of getting mowed a little bit, but a few of them come in and do some good work towards the end. Supporting Dark Riders also, same thing. Bolt Thrower, kind of expected it to have more value, honestly, but didn't do a lot, but still, there you go. Archmage surprisingly got 102 kills, despite just mostly spamming Earthbloods everywhere. Omen of Asaurian definitely pays for itself, so I guess I can't criticize too hard, but again, I think maybe you're just better off to go with the Star Dragon these days. Hard to say. It is a bit risky against Dark Elves with all their AP missiles, but maybe you go with like a Star Dragon Cav build. Definitely the bright spot for my opponent, and something that surprised me, although it probably shouldn't, is that the Lions themselves actually did quite good. I'd have to look. I don't think they got any direct buffs. Maybe they got like a mass buff or something. But in the past, I have had good success myself, occasionally with going with an aggressive cycle charge with the War Lions and healing them with Earthbloods. I mean, it's definitely something that's possible, but it's a little bit hard to do reliably, so I was kind of surprised to see these guys perform so well, but my opponent did micro them super crispy, so I must say, compliments there. The White Lion Infantry, a little bit of a mixed bag, but generally very cost-effective, quite a few kills on a few of them. They just beat the low-tier Dark Elf troops straight up, which is nice, although I think there was maybe one engagement I didn't highlight where I had a 2v1 with Bleak Sword Stretch Spears. I might have won. It's hard to say. A lot of that anti-infantry damage came from Malekith. He pretty much killed not all of these guys single-handedly. Chariots and the Manticores definitely helped, but value in dealing with the Alliance was definitely quite solid. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Definitely a fun, sort of refreshed matchup now with the changes to both sides. Should be interesting going forward. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you had a chance to watch the other battles on my stream, you know, do you think Dark Elves are quite strong? Can they give some of the Warriors and Monogods factions a run for their money in Game 3? Let me know what you think. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.